The council chamber stretched so far in every direction that Thomas Reed could barely see the walls. Thousands of alien beings sat in rising tiers, their forms ranging from the barely comprehensible to the disturbingly familiar. Some floated in containment fields filled with exotic gases. Others existed as pure energy, their consciousness housed in crystalline matrices. A few resembled Earth creatures, though their eyes held intelligence that was distinctly not human. Thomas stood in the center of a massive circular platform, suspended 30 meters above the chamber floor by technology he did not fully understand. Beside him, Captain Diana Hart remained perfectly still, her military training evident in every controlled breath. They were alone, two humans among thousands of aliens, representing a species that had only discovered faster than light. Travel 8 months ago, the air itself seemed to hum with power and ancient authority. A creature that resembled a massive octopus, covered in bioluminescent patterns, raised several tentacles. When it spoke, its voice emerged from devices scattered throughout the chamber, translated into perfect English. Human delegation, you stand before the Galactic Council. We govern 43,000 inhabited worlds across this spiral arm. Our authority has maintained peace for 7 million years. You have been summoned to answer for violations of the Concordat of emerging species. Thomas had prepared for this moment during the 6-week journey to the council station. He had studied every scrap of information humanity possessed about galactic politics. He had rehearsed diplomatic responses to every conceivable accusation. But standing here, facing the combined authority of thousands of civilizations, his preparation felt woefully inadequate. We acknowledge the Council's authority, Thomas said carefully. May we know the specific charges. A being made entirely of crystalline structures pulsed with red light. You have militarized your star system. You have developed weapons beyond your technological classification. You have refused to submit your defensive systems for Council inspection. These actions violate 3 separate articles of the Concordat. Diana shifted slightly beside him. Thomas recognized the movement. She was cataloging exits, assessing threats, calculating combat scenarios. It was what soldiers did when they felt trapped. With respect, Thomas replied, humanity was never informed of the Concordat. We received no communication from the Council until 3 months ago, when your survey vessels entered our system without permission and demanded we disarm immediately. The octopus creature's patterns flickered. Ignorance is not an acceptable defense. All emerging species are subject to Council law from the moment they achieve interstellar capability, even if they are never told what that law contains. A ripple of reaction passed through the assembled aliens. Some seemed amused. Others appeared offended. The crystalline being pulsed brighter. Your tone approaches insolence, human. We suggest you demonstrate more appropriate respect. Thomas felt his jaw tighten. He had spent his entire diplomatic career finding peaceful solutions, building bridges between opposing sides, crafting compromises that satisfied everyone. But something about this situation felt fundamentally wrong. The Council was not interested in dialogue. This was a trial where the verdict had already been decided. Forgive me, he said, but respect must be mutual. The Council sent warships to surround Earth. You delivered ultimatums to a species that had never heard of you. You demanded we surrender our ability to defend ourselves. These are not the actions of a government seeking peaceful contact. These are the actions of conquerors. The chamber erupted. Thousands of aliens began speaking simultaneously, their voices creating a cacophony that the translation devices struggled to process. The octopus creature slammed its tentacles against its console, creating a sound like thunder. Silence. The noise ceased instantly. Human, you overstep badly. The Council does not conquer. We maintain order. Your species emerged in a dangerous region of space. Without Council protection and guidance, you would face threats you cannot imagine. We offer you survival. In exchange, we require only compliance with basic safety protocols. Safety protocols that would leave us defenseless, Diana said quietly. It was the first time she had spoken, and her voice carried through the chamber with surprising strength. We reviewed your Concordat. You want us to dismantle 80% of our military capability? You want access to all our research facilities? You want the authority to approve or deny any technological advancement we pursue. That is not protection. That is occupation. The crystalline being's light shifted to a deep purple. You compare the Council's governance to military conquest? This is beyond offensive. This approaches actionable hostility. Thomas raised his hands in a placating gesture. Please, we do not wish to create conflict. But surely you can understand our concern. Humanity has fought for its survival for hundreds of thousands of years. We have faced extinction events, ice ages, plagues, wars. We survived because we adapted, because we learned, because we refused to surrender our ability to protect ourselves. You ask us to abandon the very trait that kept our species alive. An alien that looked like a bipedal lizard covered in feathers stood from its seat. When it spoke, its voice carried a note of curiosity rather than anger. Human ambassador, what would you have the Council do? Simply allow your species to develop without oversight? Without restrictions? You possess the capability to destroy yourselves and potentially threaten other species. Should we ignore this danger? Thomas took a deep breath. This was the moment. Either he found a way to bridge this gap, or humanity would face the consequences of defying a government that controlled thousands of worlds. No, he said. We do not ask to be ignored. We ask to be treated as equals. Allow us to join the Council as full members. Give us a voice in the laws that govern us. Trust that a species intelligent enough to reach the stars is intelligent enough to make responsible decisions. We are not children requiring supervision. We are a civilization that deserves respect. The octopus creature's patterns shifted to colors Thomas had not seen before. Humans, you have existed in space for less than one of your years. Most Council species have participated in galactic civilization for millennia, some for millions of years. You possess no technology we did not invent first. You have no unique insights to offer. You are, by any objective measure, primitives who've stumbled onto secrets you do not truly understand. And you demand equality? Thomas felt Diana tense beside him. He knew what she was thinking. They had one card left to play, one piece of information that might change everything. But using it meant burning bridges they could never rebuild. He made his decision, as Thomas said quietly. We demand equality. Because while you were observing us, we were observing you. For the past 73 years, since your first surveillance drones entered our solar system, humanity has been watching, learning, and preparing. We know things about the Council that you believe are secret. We have capabilities you do not expect, and we are far more dangerous than you imagine. The chamber fell absolutely silent, the crystalline being leaned forward, its form casting rainbow patterns across the platform. Explain yourself, human. What capabilities could a primitive species possibly possess that would concern this Council? Thomas smiled, though there was no humor in it. That, honored Council members, is exactly what you are about to discover. The silence in the Council chamber felt like a physical weight pressing down from all sides. Thomas Reed watched as the alien representatives processed his statement, their reactions ranging from disbelief to carefully concealed concern. The octopus creature's bioluminescent patterns had frozen in mid-shift. A display that their briefing materials indicated meant deep surprise. Diana Hart touched her wrist device with movements so subtle that most of the aliens likely missed them entirely. Above the suspended platform, holographic displays materialized, showing star charts and vessel positions. The Council representatives stirred uneasily. What you are seeing, Thomas explained, keeping his voice level and professional, is the current position of every Council. Military vessel within 15 light-years of Earth. We count 47 warships, 12 supply vessels, and 3 command carriers. Your formation suggests preparation for a blockade or potential bombardment. The crystalline being pulsed angry red. You admit to espionage against Council forces? We admit to defending ourselves with information, Thomas replied. You placed military assets around our homeworld without declaration or explanation. We simply wanted to know who was pointing weapons at our families. A new alien rose from the upper tiers. This one resembled a collection of floating geometric shapes that constantly reconfigured themselves. When it spoke, the translation rendered its voice as gender-neutral and eerily calm. Tracking vessel positions is one matter. Breaking Council encryption to obtain tactical data is another entirely. How did a species at your development level crack security protocols designed by civilizations millions of years older? Diana answered before Thomas could speak. You assume your age grants you superiority in all things. But encryption is mathematics, and mathematics is universal. We may be young, but we are very good at solving puzzles, especially when our survival depends on it. She gestured, and the display shifted, showing come. Unications intercepts, decoded military transmissions, and tactical assessments. The chamber erupted in alarm. Representatives began shouting in dozens of languages, creating chaos that the translation systems could not fully process. The octopus creature slammed its console again, demanding order. When the noise subsided, its patterns had shifted to warning colors. You have confessed to multiple violations of galactic law. You have proven yourselves to be exactly the threat we suspected. This council has no choice but to classify humanity as a hostile species. Your civilization will be placed under permanent restriction. Your military capabilities will be eliminated. Your access to advanced technology will be terminated. This is not negotiable. Thomas felt his heart racing, but he forced himself to remain outwardly calm. Everything depended on the next few minutes. You have that authority, he acknowledged. But before you make that decision, I suggest you review one more piece of information. He nodded to Diana again. The displays changed, showing the interior of what appeared to be a Council warship. The image quality was perfect, as if recorded by professional equipment rather than hidden cameras. This footage was recorded aboard the Thalaxian flagship 3 days ago, Thomas said quietly. Notice the timestamp. Notice the location. Notice that we had people aboard your most secure military vessel, and you never detected them. The octopus creature's entire body went rigid. Impossible. Difficult, Thomas corrected. Not impossible. Humanity has inserted observation teams aboard 17 Council vessels over the past 4 months. Your security detected none of them. Your internal sensors registered nothing unusual. Your crew members noticed nothing out of place. We have been living in your walls, listening to your conversations, documenting your plans. He paused, letting that sink in. We know about the disagreements between Council factions. We know the Thalaxians and the Vorton Dominion barely tolerate each other. We know the Corinth Alliance has territorial ambitions that violate Council charter. We know this military deployment around Earth is not actually about protecting developing species. It is about demonstrating power in an internal political struggle. The geometric alien reconfigured itself into a sharp, aggressive pattern. These accusations are baseless and inflammatory. You possess no evidence of internal Council discord. Diana smiled without warmth. Would you like us to play the recording of your private conversation with the Dravaxian representative from last week? The one where you discussed using the Earth situation to pressure the Thalaxians into territorial concessions. We have 47 hours of similar recordings, all properly documented and time-stamped. The chamber descended into absolute chaos. Representatives shouted accusations at each other. Long-standing alliances showed sudden cracks. The unified front the Council had presented moments ago began fracturing before Thomas's eyes, the crystalline being blazed with furious light. You dare use our own words against us? You dare exploit confidential diplomatic communications for leverage? You dare threaten my entire species with enslavement or extinction? Thomas shot back, his diplomatic composure finally cracking. Yes, we exploited your communications. Yes, we infiltrated your vessels. Yes, we gathered intelligence that you wanted kept secret. We did all of this because you gave us no choice. You arrived at our homeworld with weapons deployed and demands prepared. You treated us as primitives to be managed, rather than equals to be respected. What did you expect us to do? Submit meekly to subjugation. A new voice cut through the chaos. It came from the highest tier of the chamber, where the oldest and most powerful council members sat. The voice belonged to something called the Eternal Choir. a collective consciousness that had helped found the Council millions of years ago. All representatives will cease speaking immediately. Every alien in the chamber obeyed instantly. Even the octopus creature's patterns stilled. Humanity, the Eternal Choir said, you have demonstrated capabilities that exceed our assessments. You have also demonstrated a capacity for deception and manipulation that concerns this council greatly. These traits make you either valuable allies or dangerous enemies. Which will you choose to be? Thomas took a deep breath. This was the real question, the one that mattered more than any accusations or legal violations. That depends entirely on how you choose to treat us, he said. Humanity does not want to be your enemy. We do not want conflict with civilizations that have existed for millions of years. What we want is simple dignity. Recognize us as equals. Grant us the same rights and responsibilities you grant other council members. Allow us to defend ourselves and govern our own affairs. Give us that, and we will be the most loyal allies you have ever known. Deny us that, and we will fight with every resource we possess. You would fight a war you cannot win? The crystalline being demanded. We would fight a war where everyone loses, Thomas corrected. We have already transmitted encrypted data packets to 73 different locations throughout Council space. If Diana and I do not send cancellation codes every 12 hours, those packets will decrypt and broadcast everything we have learned about Council internal politics. Every secret, every scandal, every hidden conflict will become public knowledge. Your own populations will see how their governments truly operate. The chaos that follows will tear the Council apart from within. The Eternal Choir was silent for a long moment. When it finally spoke, its tone carried what might have been respect. You have created a deterrent based on mutually assured political destruction. Clever, brutal, effective. Very well, humanity. You have earned the right to be heard. What specific terms do you propose? Thomas felt relief wash through him, though he was careful not to show it. They had survived the initial confrontation. Now came the harder part, actually negotiating a sustainable agreement. Full council membership with complete sovereignty over our territory and development. The right to maintain defensive military forces without external approval. Access to council technology and databases on the same terms as other members. And immunity from retroactive punishment for actions taken before we were informed of council law. Unacceptable, the octopus creature said immediately. No species has ever been granted such terms upon first contact. No species has ever infiltrated your warships and decrypted your communications before first official contact either, Diana pointed out. We are not asking for special treatment. We are demanding equal treatment. There's a difference. The debate that followed lasted 6 hours. The negotiation chamber was smaller than the main council hall, designed for working discussions rather than grand pronouncements. Thomas Reed sat across a curved table from 5 council representatives, each chosen to represent different factions and perspectives. The octopus creature was there, along with the crystalline being, the geometric entity, and to others that humanity had not encountered before, one resembled a cloud of metallic dust that maintained a roughly humanoid shape. The other looked like a tree made of glass, its branches moving with deliberate, thoughtful gestures. Diana Hart stood behind Thomas, her military bearing a constant reminder that humanity had not come defenseless to this meeting. The council could not simply grant full membership to an unproven species, the octopus creature said, its patterns showing diplomatic colors now rather than angry ones. There are procedures, requirements, demonstrations of technological and social sophistication. You cannot bypass millennia of tradition with threats and espionage. We understand tradition has value, Thomas replied. But tradition that ignores reality becomes dogma. The reality is that humanity possesses capabilities you did not anticipate. We demonstrated initiative, strategic thinking, and technological adaptability. Are these not the qualities the council claims to value? The glass tree being spoke in a voice like wind chimes. The qualities you demonstrated could equally indicate a dangerous, unpredictable species that threatens galactic stability. Your infiltration of our vessels was a violation of trust before trust even existed between us. You surrounded our planet with warships, Diana interjected. You delivered ultimatums. You threatened to dismantle our defenses and control our development. Where was trust in those actions? The crystalline being pulsed, thoughtful purple. A fair question. Perhaps both sides have approached this situation with excessive caution and insufficient communication. However, that does not resolve the fundamental problem. How can the Council grant membership to a species it cannot trust? Thomas leaned forward. How can my species trust a council that treats us as threats to be neutralized, rather than neighbors to be welcomed? Trust must be mutual, or it is worthless. We took aggressive intelligence-gathering actions because we had no other way to assess. Whether you were offering genuine partnership or planning subjugation, if you had approached us openly, with respect rather than demands, perhaps we could have built trust from the beginning. The metallic dust cloud shifted into a contemplative configuration. There is wisdom in the human's words. The Council's standard protocols for emerging species are designed for civilizations that develop in regions with existing galactic presence. Earth developed in relative isolation, with minimal external contact until achieving faster-than-light capability. Perhaps our standard approach was inappropriate for this unique situation? Perhaps? Diana's voice carried an edge. Your standard approach nearly started a war. A war humanity could not win, the octopus creature reminded her. A war no one could win cleanly, Thomas corrected. We understand military realities. 47 warships against Earth's defenses would result in our defeat, but not before we inflicted significant casualties. Not before we broadcast your internal secrets to destabilize Council politics. Not before we demonstrated to every other emerging species in the galaxy that the Council responds to strength and determination. You might destroy Earth, but you would pay a price that makes victory meaningless. The geometric entity reconfigured into a pattern that suggested grudging agreement. The human understands strategic calculation. Very well. Let us discuss what both sides actually want, rather than continuing to threaten each other with outcomes neither desires. This was progress. Thomas allowed himself a moment of cautious optimism before responding. Humanity wants sovereignty. We want the right to develop our technology, maintain our defenses, and govern our society without external interference. We want access to galactic knowledge and trade networks. We want to participate in decisions that affect us. These are not unreasonable desires. And what does humanity offer in exchange? The glass tree asked. Council membership confers benefits, but it also requires contributions. What unique value does your species bring? Thomas had anticipated this question. We bring fresh perspectives. For millions of years, the Council has consisted of species that developed within its existing framework. You have institutional knowledge and technological advancement, but you also have institutional blindness. You did not anticipate our infiltration because you had never encountered a species that approached problems the way we do. That blindness could be dangerous if you face external threats you do not understand. External threats. The octopus creature's patterns showed interest. What threats could exist that the Council has not already encountered? I have no specific knowledge of such threats, Thomas admitted. But the galaxy is vast. You control one spiral arm. What exists beyond your borders? What civilizations might develop in regions you do not monitor? Having allies who think differently, who solve problems through unconventional approaches, provides insurance against the unknown. Diana added quietly, humanity survived on a planet that constantly tried to kill us. Ice ages, volcanoes, asteroids, diseases, predators. We are very good at adapting to unexpected dangers. That skill might prove valuable. The metallic cloud pulsed thoughtfully. The humans make interesting arguments, but they still have not addressed the core issue. How do we know you will honor Council law once granted membership? What prevents you from using your intelligence-gathering capabilities against other members? What stops you from exploiting the knowledge and technology we share? Thomas met the question directly. The same thing that prevents any Council member from betraying the others. Mutual interest. We are one species of 11 billion people. The Council represents trillions of beings across thousands of worlds. We understand mathematics. Betraying the Council would be suicide. But partnership with the Council offers opportunities for growth, learning, and prosperity that we could never achieve alone. We are ambitious, not stupid. The crystalline being's light shifted to considering colors. You speak of partnership, yet you hold encrypted data packets as leverage over us. This is not how partners behave. You speak of partnership, yet you maintain warships around our homeworld, Thomas countered. Neither side has fully embraced trust because both sides are still evaluating whether trust is justified. I propose we change that. We will recall our data packets and provide you with complete information about our intelligence gathering operations. In exchange, you withdraw your military forces from Earth's system and grant us provisional council membership with full rights. Provisional, the octopus creature questioned. A trial period, Thomas explained. 5 years where we participate fully in council activities, demonstrate our commitment to galactic law, and prove we are worthy of permanent membership. If we violate that trust, you revoke our status. If we honor our commitments, we gain full, permanent recognition. Both sides have an exit option. Both sides have incentive to make it work. The 5 council representatives exchanged communications and frequencies and methods Thomas could not detect. The silence stretched for several minutes. Finally, the Eternal Choir's voice emerged from hidden speakers. The Council finds these terms acceptable in principle. However, additional provisions must be included. Humanity must submit to technological assessment to ensure your capabilities do not exceed safe parameters. You must accept Council observers on Earth to monitor compliance with agreements. And you must provide complete disclosure of any other intelligence operations you may have conducted. Thomas felt his stomach tighten. Complete disclosure would reveal just how much they had been bluffing. The observation deck of the Council station provided a view of nearby space that took Thomas Reed's breath away every time he saw it. Thousands of vessels from hundreds of species moved in carefully coordinated patterns, creating a ballet of interstellar civilization. Somewhere among those vessels, Earth's small delegation ship waited to carry him and Diana home. But first, they had to finalize the agreement that would determine humanity's place in the galaxy. Diana stood beside him, her reflection visible in the transparent barrier that separated them from vacuum. They want complete disclosure. That means telling them we only have observation teams on 12 ships, not 17. That our encrypted data packets cover maybe 40% of what we claimed. That most of our infiltration success came from luck and timing rather than superior capabilities. I know, Thomas said quietly. They will feel deceived. They might revoke the entire agreement, possibly. So what do? Thomas turned to face her. We tell the truth. We explain that we exaggerated our capabilities because we were terrified. We admit that we gambled everything on a bluff because we had no other options. And we hope that honesty now can build the trust that threats could not. Diana looked skeptical. That is a significant risk, Ambassador. Everything about this mission has been a risk. But I am tired of deception. If we want genuine partnership with the Council, we need to start with genuine honesty. He checked his timepiece. The final session begins in 20 minutes. I need to prepare my statement. The final negotiation session included not just the 5 representatives from before, but dozens of others from various Council factions. The chamber felt crowded and tense. Thomas stood at the center platform, Diana beside him, facing a wall of alien faces. The octopus creature spoke first. Human delegation, the Council has reviewed your proposal for provisional membership. Before we proceed to formal ratification, you must fulfill the disclosure requirement. Provide complete details of your intelligence operations. This was the moment. Thomas took a deep breath. Honored Council members, I must begin with an admission that may anger you, but which I believe is necessary for building genuine trust between our peoples. He activated a holographic display showing the true scope of humanity's operations. The numbers were significantly smaller than what he had initially implied. We exaggerated. We claimed 17 infiltrated vessels. The true number is 12. We claimed comprehensive intelligence on Council internal politics. The reality is we have fragments and pieces that we analyze to create plausible scenarios. We've claimed perfect technological understanding of your systems. The truth is, we barely understand half of what we copied." The chamber erupted in outrage. The crystalline being blazed angry red. The octopus creature's patterns flashed warning colors. Dozens of aliens began shouting accusations of deception and fraud. Thomas raised his voice to be heard above the chaos. "You have every right to be angry," he lied. "But we lied because we were facing what we believed to be an existential threat. You arrived at Earth with weapons and demands. We had days to formulate a response to a situation we did not understand, so we bluffed. We made ourselves seem more dangerous and capable than we actually were because we hoped it would make you pause, make you reconsider, make you willing to negotiate instead of simply imposing your will." The Eternal Choir's voice cut through the noise. "You admit to systematic deception during negotiations that will determine your species' future. You understand this undermines every argument you have made about trust and partnership." "I understand it complicates those arguments," Thomas replied. "But I also believe that admitting our deception now demonstrates more genuine commitment to trust than maintaining the lie would have. We could have continued the bluff. We could have fabricated evidence to support our exaggerated claims. Instead, we are choosing honesty, even though it puts us at disadvantage." The geometric entity reconfigured into a questioning pattern. "Why? Why reveal your weakness when you had successfully convinced us of your strength?" "Because strength built on lies is no strength at all," Thomas said. "Yes, we infiltrated 12 of your vessels instead of 17. But we still infiltrated 12 vessels that your security never detected. Yes, our intelligence is incomplete. But we still decrypted communications you believed were secure. Why? Ease. We exaggerated the scope of our capabilities, but the core truth remains unchanged. Humanity is more capable and more determined than you initially assessed. The exact numbers may be different, but the fundamental reality is the same." Diana stepped forward. "We also want to explain our methodology, because it demonstrates capabilities that are real, not exaggerated. We did not use advanced technology to infiltrate your ships. We used social engineering, patient observation, and human adaptability. Our people studied your crew routines for weeks. They learned to move during shift changes. They identified blind spots in your sensor coverage. They lived in maintenance corridors and emergency compartments that your crews rarely check." She displayed footage showing exactly how the infiltration teams had operated. The aliens watched in fascinated silence as humans demonstrated techniques for avoiding detection that relied on understanding psychology and behavior rather than superior technology. "This is our actual strength." Diana continued, "Not technological superiority, but adaptive problem-solving. We survive by understanding our enemies better than they understand themselves. That capability is real. The numbers we exaggerated, but the principle is genuine." The glass tree being's branches moved in contemplative patterns. "You claim that your deception was motivated by fear and survival instinct. If the Council accepts your explanation and proceeds with the agreement, what guarantee do we have that you will not employ similar deceptions in the future?" Thomas had prepared for this question. "You have no guarantee. Trust cannot be guaranteed. It can only be built through consistent actions over time. That is precisely why we propose a provisional membership period. 5 years where our actions speak louder than our words. Where you can observe whether humanity honors its commitments or exploits opportunities for selfish gain. We cannot prove our trustworthiness with statements. We can only demonstrate it through behavior." The metallic cloud shifted into a formation that suggested consideration. "The human makes a persuasive argument. However, this council has never accepted members who admitted to systematic deception during negotiations. There is no precedent for such an arrangement." "Then create one," Thomas urged. "The galaxy is changing. Humanity's proof of that. We emerged faster than your models predicted. We adapted to your presence in ways you did not anticipate. We challenged assumptions that have governed council policy for millions of years. If the council remains bound by rigid precedent, is unable to adapt to new circumstances, then perhaps the council itself has become obsolete." The chamber fell absolutely silent at that statement. For a moment, Thomas wondered if he had pushed too far. Then the eternal choir spoke, and its tone carried something that might have been amusement. The human dares to suggest the council is obsolete. This is either profound wisdom or profound arrogance. Perhaps both, Thomas admitted. But consider this. Every great civilization in your histories must have faced moments where tradition conflicted with necessity, where old rules no longer fit new realities. This is such a moment. You can cling to precedent and reject humanity, proving that the council cannot adapt. Or you can embrace change and accept us, proving that the council remains vital and relevant. The choice defines not just our future, but yours as well. The 5 primary negotiators conferred privately for several minutes. Thomas waited, aware that everything humanity had worked for balanced on whatever decision emerged from those deliberations. Finally, the octopus creature spoke. The council will grant provisional membership under the following terms. 6 months after the council agreement was ratified, Thomas Reed stood in the newly constructed Earth Embassy on the council station. The building incorporated both human and alien architectural principles, creating a structure that felt simultaneously familiar and exotic. Through the observation windows, you could see vessels from a dozen species docking at the station's ports. Diana Hart entered his office, carrying a data tablet. Ambassador, we just received the latest report from the Corinth sector. 3 more developing species have requested accelerated contact protocols, citing Earth as an example. Thomas smiled. The council must love that. The council is adapting. Slowly. Diana set the tablet down. We also received communication from something calling itself the Vrex Remnant. They claim to be survivors of a civilization that challenged the council millions of years ago. They want to meet with you privately. Thomas frowned. The Vrex are supposed to be extinct. The council destroyed them during the Great Consolidation, apparently not completely. Their message included authentication codes that match historical VX protocols. They seem genuine. What do they want? They did not specify, but they implied that Earth's success against the council interested them greatly. They suggested we might have common cause. Thomas considered this carefully. Forward the communication to council security. We are not hiding contacts from our partners. Also, prepare a formal response acknowledging the message and requesting more information about their intentions. Diana nodded approvingly. Building trust through transparency. I will handle it. After she left, Thomas returned to reviewing the provisional membership assessment reports. In 6 months, humanity had participated in 43 council initiatives, resolved to minor diplomatic disputes, contributed technological insights on sensor evasion that had improved council security protocols. The same techniques Earth used to infiltrate vessels were now being used to prevent infiltration. The irony was not lost on anyone. His communication. The console chimed. The octopus creature appeared on screen, its patterns showing friendly colors. Ambassador Reed, I hope I am not interrupting. Not at all, Counselor Brent. How can I help you? The alien's patterns shifted to diplomatic formality. The Council is conducting its preliminary evaluation of Earth's provisional status. I wanted to inform you personally that the assessment is quite positive. Several members have commented that humanity's contributions have exceeded expectations. That is encouraging to hear. We have worked hard to demonstrate our commitment. Indeed. However, I must also warn you that not all Council members are pleased with this outcome. The Dravaxian faction continues to argue that Earth represents a dangerous precedent. They are lobbying to add additional restrictions to any permanent membership arrangement. Of course they are. What kind of restrictions? They want limits on Earth's military expansion, mandatory Council approval for any new defensive installations, regular inspections of human research facilities. Those terms would undermine the sovereignty we negotiated. We cannot accept permanent membership under those conditions. The octopus creature's patterns showed sympathetic understanding. I anticipated that response. I wanted to give you advance notice so you can prepare counter-arguments. The formal review will occur in 3 months. Use that time to build support among friendlier Council factions. I appreciate the warning, Counselor. May I ask why you are helping us? You were one of our strongest opponents during initial negotiations. The alien's patterns shifted to contemplative colors. I opposed you because I feared you. I still fear you, if I am honest. Humanity is unpredictable and dangerously clever. But 6 months of working with your delegation has taught me something important. You are also honorable. You keep your commitments. You contribute rather than simply taking. These qualities make you valuable allies despite the risks you represent. After the call ended, Thomas stared at the star-filled view outside his window. 6 months ago, he had stood before the Council expecting either subjugation or war. Now Earth was a provisional member of galactic civilization, contributing to interstellar governance and building relationships with species millions of years older than humanity. But challenges remained. The Dravaxian opposition was serious. The mysterious Vrex contact could complicate everything. And underlying all of it was the fundamental question that had driven human policy from the beginning. How did a young, relatively weak species maintain independence in a galaxy controlled by ancient powers? Diana returned with additional reports. Ambassador, I thought you should know. Our intelligence teams detected unusual activity near the galactic rim. Multiple unidentified vessels using technology that does not match any known Council species. Pirates. Raiders? Unknown. But the energy signatures are consistent with the fragmentary Vrex data we recovered from historical archives. If the Vrex remnant is real, they may have significant military capability. Thomas felt the old familiar tension returning. Keep monitoring. If they make aggressive moves toward Council territory, we need to be the first to report it. Our credibility depends on being transparent about potential threats. Understood. There's one more thing. Diana hesitated. I received an unofficial communication from a Corinth military officer. He wanted to thank us personally for the sensor improvements we suggested. Apparently, they detected a smuggling operation that had been operating unnoticed for years. That is good news. But he also said something strange. He said that many Corinth officers privately admire humanity's approach to galactic politics. They feel the Council has become too bureaucratic and risk-averse. They see RTH as proof that aggressive independent thinking can succeed. Thomas recognized the danger in that admiration. We need to be careful. If we become a symbol for Council dissidents, we could trigger exactly the kind of instability we were trying to avoid. Agreed. But it also means we have potential allies if things get difficult with the Dravaxian faction. The following weeks brought a flurry of diplomatic activity. Thomas met with representatives from 17 different species, building relationships and gathering support for permanent membership. Some were enthusiastic, others were cautious. A few were openly hostile. The Dravaxian ambassador remained his most consistent opponent. During one particularly tense encounter, the insectoid being confronted him directly. Ambassador Reed, your species has been fortunate so far. But fortune does not last forever. The Council has existed for 7 million years because we maintain order and stability. Your aggressive approach undermines both. Eventually, there will be consequences. Thomas met the alien's multifaceted gaze steadily. Ambassador Krell, I respect your concern for stability. But stability that prevents growth is stagnation. Humanity does not seek to destabilize the Council. We seek to revitalize it. There is a difference. A difference you may not live to appreciate. The threat was subtle, but clear. Thomas reported it immediately to Council security, maintaining his policy of transparency. The incident created ripples through Council politics, with some factions condemning the Dravaxians' aggressive stance and others quietly supporting it. 3 months passed in a blur of meetings, negotiations, and careful political maneuvering. When the formal review session finally arrived, Thomas stood once again before the full Council assembly. This time he was not an outsider pleading for recognition. He was a provisional member defending humanity's right to permanent status. The Eternal Choir opened the proceedings. Earth's provisional membership period has concluded. The Council will now evaluate humanity's performance and determine whether permanent status is warranted. Ambassador Reed, you may present your case. Thomas had prepared extensively for this moment. He presented data on humanity's contributions, testimonials from allied species, and evidence of Earth's commitment to Council principles. He acknowledged mistakes and areas for improvement. He addressed concerns about human unpredictability and argued that diversity of thought strengthened, rather than weakened galactic civilization. When he finished, the Dravaxian ambassador presented the opposing case, arguing that humanity remained too dangerous and unreliable for permanent membership. The debate that followed lasted hours, with various council factions presenting their positions. Finally, the Eternal Choir called for a vote. The counting process was lengthy and complex. Accounting for different species, voting weights, and factoring in various political considerations. Thomas waited with Diana, both of them trying to project calm confidence, while their hearts raced. When the results were announced, the Eternal Choir's tone carried something that might have been satisfaction. The Council votes to grant Earth full, permanent membership status with complete sovereignty rights. 47 factions voted in favor, 23 opposed, 12 abstained. The measure passes by the required margin. Ambassador Reed, humanity is now formally and permanently part of galactic civilization. May your species bring wisdom and strength to our community.
Nice.
Thomas felt overwhelming relief and triumph flood through him. Diana gripped his shoulder tightly. Around them, allied species representatives showed signs of approval in their various ways. But even in that moment of victory, Thomas noticed the Dravaxian ambassador leaving the chamber, its movements sharp with barely controlled anger. This was not over. Humanity had won the battle for recognition. But the longer struggle for respect and security would continue. As the ceremony concluded and various representatives offered congratulations, Thomas reflected on how far humanity had come. 6 months ago, they were terrified primitives bluffing their way through first contact. Now they were permanent council members, contributing to decisions that shaped galactic civilization. The journey had been dangerous, unpredictable, and often terrifying. But humanity had survived by being clever, adaptable, and absolutely refusing to give up. Those same qualities would carry them forward into whatever challenges the future held. Diana leaned close and whispered, "We did it, Ambassador. Earth is safe." Thomas smiled, but his eyes remained on the departing Dravasian. "For now, Captain. For now. But in galactic politics, safety is always temporary. We need to stay sharp, stay vigilant, and keep proving we deserve the respect we demanded." "Then it is fortunate," Diana replied, "that staying sharp and vigilant is exactly what humanity does best." Outside the council station, Earth hung in space, beautiful and vulnerable, and now protected by treaties and alliances rather than bluffs and threats. Humanity had taken its first real steps into a larger universe. The journey would be long and difficult.
Ow.
But for the first time since discovering they were not alone, humans could face that journey with hope instead of fear. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. Sonnet 4.5